Years ago, I left my cheating husband, and now I'm in a situation that makes the broken me smile. The air in the private jet was cool, a stark contrast to the humid, sticky air I remembered from my college days. I, Kelsey, 27, a self-made millionaire, was returning to the city that held both the sweet and bitter memories of my past. My tech company, Synapse Solutions, had exploded in the last few years, a testament to my late-night coding sessions and unwavering determination. But this trip wasn't just about closing deals and shaking hands. It was a confrontation with a chapter one had long closed. Back then, I was a slightly naive college student and head over heels for Mario, my high school sweetheart. He was charming, athletic, the kind of guy who made you feel like you were the center of his universe. Since we had been dating since high school, we rushed into marriage, a whirlwind of promises and youthful idealism, a decision I now saw as a classic case of too young, too fast. The reality of marriage was draining, and I felt I couldn't be myself anymore. It proved to be a stark contrast to the fairy tale I had imagined. Then came the betrayal, the discovery of his infidelity. I didn't scream or throw things. We sat across from each other, the weight of our failed marriage pressing down on us, and agreed to a civil divorce. We became polite strangers, navigating the same campus but in separate orbits. It was hard most days, but I got over it. Leaving the state after graduation was a form of self-preservation. I needed to build a life where my past no longer defined me. I poured my heart into my work and transformed myself, not just professionally, but personally. The girl who once wore floral dresses and soft smiles was gone, replaced by a confident woman with sleek, tailored suits, bold tattoos crawling up her arms, and a collection of piercings that reflected my newfound freedom. My 5'6" frame carried a quiet strength, a silent declaration of my independence. Who would have thought I would end up back in this state on business? The business conference was a blur of presentations and networking, but the reunion was different. It was a step back into a world I'd left behind, a chance to reconnect with the people who knew me before Synapse Solutions and the millions. I felt nervous as I walked into the dimly lit bar. Faces I hadn't seen in years turned towards me. "Kelsey," they asked, their voices tinged with disbelief. I smiled, a little awkward. The revelation of my bisexuality, a part of myself I'd kept hidden during my marriage, was met with a mix of curiosity and acceptance. But one woman, a striking brunette with piercing blue eyes, stood out. She watched me with an intensity that made me shift uncomfortably. There was a spark in her gaze, and I found myself drawn to her. The night unfolded in a haze of laughter and shared memories. Eventually, I went out to take a breath, and she followed. We talked and flirted. She was leaning in and murmuring against my ear. One thing led to another, and we found ourselves back in my hotel room. The love-making was intense. It was so good that I was thinking of seeing her again, waking up next to her. The next morning, the light casting a soft glow on her sleeping face, I felt a strange sense of peace. But that peace was shattered the moment we sat down to eat breakfast. Halfway through our meal, she looked at me with a sad expression. "I have to tell you something," she said before I could ask her what was wrong. I felt my heart breaking, almost like I knew the conversation was going to go downhill. She looked at me for a few seconds, then she blurted out, "My husband, he's cheating on me." For a moment, it felt like my heart stopped, but she continued, "I'm sorry for dragging you into my mess. I only wanted to get even. You were so kind, and I thought maybe if I came clean now, we could get to know each other for real." I was floored. I sat there just looking at her while the details poured out, a torrent of pain and betrayal. I listened, my stomach turning, a growing sense of unease creeping in. Eventually, I asked to see what her husband looked like, and when she showed me, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. It was Mario, my ex-husband, the man who had broken my heart. The irony was almost comical, a dark, twisted joke. I told her that I knew him and explained how I did. She laughed, a strange, hysterical laughter born of disbelief. While she was busy laughing, a storm raged within me. Guilt, confusion, anger, and disbelief all tangled together. This woman before me was intelligent, witty, and undeniably beautiful. But the situation was so hinky. I wanted to say that we should forget what we did. But I feel this pull towards her, a desire to understand her, to protect her. But she was married. And because of this, I feel I can't trust her completely. She's still here, in my hotel room, a constant reminder of the chaos I've stumbled into. Do I walk away, pretend this never happened? Or do I succumb to the connection I feel? The more I get to know her, the more I feel compelled to keep her close, regardless of how complicated it may be. She's leaving soon, returning to her life. But the thought of her leaving feels like a physical ache. What do I do? Comments. Cautious. Ideal 6. This is a messy situation. Sleeping with someone's spouse, especially your ex's, is ethically complicated. Continuing this could cause more pain for everyone involved. Necessary fish 8. Okay, this is some soap opera level drama. Seriously, the universe has a weird sense of humor. But jokes aside, this is heavy. It sounds like you connected with Lena, but you have to be realistic. This isn't a rom-com, and continuing this could blow up in everyone's faces. My advice? Cut contact. It's going to be hard, but it's the cleanest break. Focus on your business and your happiness. Maybe find someone who isn't married to your ex. Update. Hey guys, thanks for all the comments. Many of you seem to think I knew she was married, but I didn't. I never saw this lady before, and she had no ring. I found out when she told me, and an hour later, I wrote my OG post. It's been 3 days of whispered confessions and a tangled web of emotions. 3 days since the reunion, since the revelation that turned my world upside down. I spent the 3 days with her. We spent those days in a strange limbo. We talked, we laughed, we shared secrets and the weight of our shared history with Mario. I learned about her passions, her dreams, and what drove her to seek revenge. The night before she was to leave, the air crackled with unspoken words. We both knew this couldn't last, that the reality of her marriage would soon intrude. We held each other close, a silent promise to cherish these fleeting moments. I don't want to leave, she whispered, holding me so tight like I was going to disappear. I know, I replied, my voice a low murmur against her hair. But we have to. We spent the night making memories. It was bittersweet. The morning arrived, and Lena packed her things, her movements slow. We avoided each other's eyes, the unspoken goodbye hanging heavy in the air. At the elevator, she turned to me, her eyes searching mine. This meant something to me, Kelsey, she whispered. More than I thought it would. Me too. I managed my throat tight. The elevator doors slid open, and she stepped inside. As the doors closed, I watched her silhouette fade, a ghost of what could have been. Back in the empty hotel room, the silence was deafening. I felt a strange mix of emotions, relief, sadness, and a lingering sense of guilt. I knew I had done the right thing, but the thought of Lena, her laughter, her touch, lingered like a phantom limb. I pulled out my phone. A part of me wanted to reach out, to defy logic and reason, to pull her back into my life. But I knew I couldn't. I had to let her go, to let her navigate her own path, even if it meant navigating it with him. Thanks again to everyone. I'm getting ready to head back home. Hopefully, this doesn't come back to bite me in the ass. Final update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. You might remember my ridiculously messy story from 2 years ago, the one involving my ex-husband, a surprise reunion, and a complicated connection with his then-wife, Lena. Yeah, that one. Well, life, as it often does, has decided to throw me another curveball. To recap, after that whirlwind of emotions, Lena and I parted ways. It was the right thing to do, the responsible thing. I threw myself back into my work, expanding Synapse Solutions, and tried to forget the intensity of those few days. It wasn't easy. Lena lingered in my thoughts, a what-if scenario I couldn't quite shake. Fast forward to now. My company opened a new, larger headquarters in the same city where my college and that reunion had taken place. It was strictly business, a strategic move. I had no illusions of running into Lena or anyone from that chapter of my life. Then, at a tech conference hosted by my company, it happened. A sea of faces, and then her. Lena. She looked different, more composed, more at peace. My heart did a weird little skip, a familiar flutter I thought I'd buried. We locked eyes across the room. It was like time stopped. The noise of the conference faded, and it was just us, two people with a complicated past, meeting again. I approached her, a mix of nervousness and curiosity swirling within me. "Lena," I said, my voice a little shaky. "Kelsey," she replied with a smile. We talked, awkwardly at first, then with a growing sense of ease. We caught up on the last 2 years, the milestones and the changes. I learned she had divorced Mario shortly after our last encounter. It was messy and painful, but ultimately the right decision. She had rebuilt her life and found her own strength. The revelation that she was single changed everything. That little spark, the one I thought I'd extinguished, flickered back to life. We started hanging out, casually at first, then with increasing frequency. Dinners turned into late-night talks. Coffee dates morphed into long walks. It was like we were picking up where we left off, but with a newfound maturity and understanding. We talked about everything: our pasts, our fears, our hopes for the future. We addressed the elephant in the room, the messy circumstances of our first encounter, the guilt, the confusion. We acknowledged the undeniable connection between us, the pull that had never truly faded. 1 month into this rekindled connection, we were sitting on my balcony, the city lights twinkling below us. The air was warm, the silence comfortable. "Kelsey," Lena began, her voice soft, "I know this is complicated, but I can't deny how I feel. I never stopped thinking about you. Even when I was going through the divorce, you were there, a ghost of a memory that kept me going. I'm in love with you." My breath caught in my throat. I had felt the same way, the unspoken words hanging in the air between us. But hearing her say it, the vulnerability in her voice made it real. "Lena," I replied, my voice thick with emotion, "I love you too. I have since the time we spent together back then." We kissed. It was like coming home, finding a place I didn't know I was searching for. Now, we're navigating this new chapter, cautiously optimistic and aware of the complexities of our past. We're taking it slow, building a foundation of trust and honesty. It's not going to be easy, but it feels right. Life is strange, isn't it? It throws you curveballs, twists, and turns you never see coming. But sometimes those unexpected detours lead you to the right place. I never thought I'd find love again, especially not with Lena. But here we are, two people with a messy past, trying to build a future together. I guess the moral of the story is never say never. And maybe some things are worth the wait.